That mid-afternoon exhaustion isn't just lack of sleep. Your cells are literally starving for specific minerals they haven't seen in months. When your skin flares or your focus shatters at 3 p.m., it's not bad luck, but a precise biological signal that you are missing three essential building blocks. I have been tracking the data on common nutritional deficiencies for years, and the patterns reveal exactly what your body is desperately trying to tell you. Gaps for years, and the trends are remarkably consistent. Ever wonder why some women seem to have limitless energy while others are constantly fighting through a mental fog? It usually comes down to three specific deficiencies that fly under the radar in most standard checkups. And that third one? It is the silent disruptor that keeps millions of women in a cycle of fatigue without them ever realizing the solution is sitting right in their pantry. So find a comfortable spot, grab a glass of water, and let's walk through the science together. Let's start with the first nutrient, which is arguably the most common gap in the modern world: magnesium. You have probably heard the name, but you might not realize just how much heavy lifting it does for your biology. A study published in the journal Nutrients found that nearly 45% of the American population does not meet the recommended daily intake for magnesium. For women, this is particularly significant. Magnesium is involved in over 300 biochemical reactions in your body, from regulating your heartbeat to controlling the way your muscles relax. Think of it as the ultimate dimmer switch for your nervous system. When you are low on magnesium, that switch gets stuck on the high setting. You feel wired but tired, you have trouble falling into a deep sleep, or you deal with those annoying muscle twitches after a long day. I remember a client I worked with last year, we will call her Elena, who spent months thinking her anxiety was purely psychological. She was trying to manage her stress with meditation and therapy, which were great, but she was completely overlooking her baseline cellular state. Once we shifted her diet to include more pumpkin seeds, dark leafy greens, and a high quality magnesium glycinate supplement before bed, the change was night and day. She told me she felt like she could finally breathe again after 6 months of constant low level panic. It is not a miracle cure, but it is a foundational piece of the puzzle that almost every woman needs to verify for herself. That leads us to the second nutrient, which is iron. Now, this is the one that really surprises people because we often assume that unless we are dealing with a formal medical diagnosis, our iron levels must be fine. But there is a huge difference between being clinically anemic and having suboptimal iron stores, which doctors refer to as your ferritin levels. Ferritin is the protein that stores iron in your body. If your ferritin is low, your body has to work twice as hard to transport oxygen to your tissues. That means your heart beats faster, your lungs take in more air, and you feel a distinct exhaustion that caffeine simply cannot fix. I see so many active, health conscious women pushing through intense workouts, thinking they are building endurance when they are actually driving themselves into the ground because their oxygen carrying capacity is compromised. It is a frustrating cycle. A research paper from the University of California found that non anemic women with low iron stores experienced a significant boost in cognitive performance and physical energy after just 8 weeks of iron supplementation. It is not about taking iron pills for the sake of it, because iron is something you have to be careful with. It is about asking for a full iron panel, not just a hemoglobin test, at your next physical. If you find your ferritin is sitting below 30 nanograms per milliliter, you have found your culprit for that persistent brain fog. If you are finding these insights helpful and you want to keep learning how to optimize your day to day health, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps me keep this channel going, and I drop deep dives like this every single week. Plus, we still have to get into that third nutrient, which is the one I have been saving specifically because it affects your long term health more than almost anything else. Okay, let's talk about that third one. This is vitamin D. I know. You hear about vitamin D all the time. You might think you get enough from the sun or your morning walk, but the data tells a much more sobering story. Roughly 42% of the United States population is deficient, and that number climbs much higher depending on where you live and how much time you spend indoors. Here is why this matters more than the others. Vitamin D isn't technically a vitamin, it is a sequesteroid hormone. It acts like a master key that unlocks the expression of hundreds of different genes in your body. It is absolutely critical for immune function, mood stability, and bone density. Think about this for a second. You could be eating the perfect diet, exercising regularly, and prioritizing your sleep, but if your vitamin D levels are bottomed out, your body is effectively running in a low power mode. I worked with a woman named Sarah who dealt with seasonal affective disorder for over a decade. Every single winter, she would feel her mood plummet and her energy vanish. We looked at her blood work from November 15th, 2023, and found her levels were essentially non existent. We implemented a targeted protocol with vitamin D3 and K2. That second part is crucial for absorption. And by the time February rolled around, she was shocked that she had actually made it through the month without her usual depressive episode. It wasn't about willpower or sunshine, it was about replacing a hormonal building block that her body was desperate for. When you optimize your vitamin D, you stop fighting against your own biology. It changes your baseline for what normal feels like. So, there you have it. Magnesium for your nervous system, iron for your oxygen capacity, and vitamin D for your foundational hormonal health. These are the three levers that, once pulled, can shift your entire well being. Most people search for complex solutions like expensive biohacks or niche supplements before they have ever addressed these core deficiencies. You don't need a medical degree to start paying attention to your own numbers. Just ask your doctor for a simple blood panel and get the data. I hope you feel empowered to take charge of your health after watching this. If this information made a difference for you, share it with a friend who might be struggling with unexplained fatigue. It is the kind of information that changes lives, and I am glad you stuck around to hear it. I'll see you in the next one.